She wears only long sleeves. Now you know why. Dolly Parton's in a league of her own, with a career spanning 60 years and still going strong. Her life narrative, however, is extremely inspirational. Let's take a look at the life of the lady whose heart is as huge as her tremendous accomplishments. From modest beginnings to superstardom, from suffering to giving back via charity. Her family paid with cornmeal. Dolly was born in a modest cabin in rural Tennessee in 1946, together with her 11 other siblings. Needless to say, their one-bedroom house was packed, and the destitute family paid the doctor who delivered Dolly with cornmeal. Many of Partons' well-known songs were inspired by her humble upbringing. My Tennessee Mountain Home is a beautiful reminiscence of where she grew up, yet other songs such as In the Good Old Days, When Times Were Bad, and Coat of Many Colors recall a coat her mother fashioned for her out of scraps. While the songs describe difficult times, they emphasize their love and lack of regret. How Dolly stayed warm in the winter. This one may be difficult to believe. Dolly, on the other hand, is adamant about being transparent about her difficult background. "The kids peed on me every night," she complained. 3 and 4 slept in the bed, and as soon as I went to bed, the kids would wet themselves and I'd have to do it all over again in the morning. As revolting as that may seem, this wasn't even considered a negative thing. When Playboy asked her whether she would change the sheets if this occurred in 1978, she said, "No, that was the only warm thing we knew in the wintertime. Because it was so cold, getting peed on was almost enjoyable." A devoted sister. Dolly Parton's involvement in her family extended beyond the typical responsibilities of a child. Dolly's mother allocated the new ones to her older children since she had so many other children. "Over the years, because there were so many of us, my mother used to say, 'This one's going to be your baby,'" Dolly recounted. "That simply meant you had to take care of it." Dolly was a kind sister who did her job well. "You've got to get up with it at night and rock it back and forth," she said to the infants, and she gave it her all. Her family suffered sorrow when her brother Larry died 4 days after his birth when he was just 9 days old. "There's a lot of heartache and stuff that goes on with that," Parton said. The home hospital. Because of her modest origins, she and her family couldn't obtain the greatest treatment or even any health care at all, and medical appointments were out of the question. Even in life-threatening situations, the Partons would occasionally handle things on their own. Parton told Dr. Oz about an accident in which she should have gone to the hospital but didn't. "I jumped across the fence onto a broken mason jar and almost cut 3 of my toes, just my little toes on my right foot, almost off. And they were just kind of hanging there," she said. "They applied antiseptic kerosene on it. Then Mommy grabbed her stitching needles, and she had to physically stitch my toes back on." Dolly's mother was a competent physician, since she never appeared to have any problem walking in her high shoes, but it's difficult to imagine what might have occurred if the treatment had gone wrong. God and guitar. Parton was born in a devout household, and her grandpa was even a Pentecostal preacher, so going to church was a family tradition. Dolly obtained her initial musical opportunities via the church. She had her first appearance on stage at her church when she was 6 years old. Dolly built her own guitar, which she used to perform with until her uncle bought her a genuine one when she was 8 years old. It didn't take long for her career to get off to a good start. She would sing on local television and radio programs, and when she was 10, she gained a broader audience when she performed on the Cass Walker Show. When she was 13, she released a record called Puppy Love on a minor label in Louisiana, and she even performed on stage at Nashville's Grand Ole Opry. She met Johnny Cash there, who urged her to follow her inclinations. Nashville Calling. Dolly graduated from Sevier County High School in 1964, and she moved to Nashville, the mecca of country music. The next day, when she arrived, she linked up with her uncle Bill Owens, and as songwriters signed to Combine Publishing, they didn't have to wait long to experience success. They penned Put It Off Until Tomorrow for Bill Phelps in 1966, which became their first top 10 smash. The next year, they composed Fuel to the Flame for Skeeter Davis, which became their second hit. Hank Williams Jr. and Kitty Wells both recorded her compositions, and things were looking bright for Dolly, whose aptitude for a good song was evident from the start. The early recordings. When Dolly first joined with Monument Records in 1965, they had a different vision for her career. Parton intended to record a country album, but her unique voice was thought to be more suited to bubblegum pop. While Parton had proven her versatility and ability to do pop as well as anyone, it's amusing to imagine her being pushed away from her true calling of country music. None of the songs she was assigned made a big impression, but when Put It Off Until Tomorrow reached number 6 on the country charts, the label saw her potential. In 1967, Monument released Parton's first album, Hello, I'm Dolly, which reached number 11 on the country charts and earned Dolly a top 20 country hit with her song Something Fishy. The surprising reason Dolly Parton always wears long sleeves. GMA's Parton adores butterfly and flower tattoos. Dollywood's symbol and Parton songs, Love is Like a Butterfly and Butterflies, include butterflies. She told ABC News, "They tell stories about me getting lost in the woods and getting in trouble chasing butterflies." Dolly Parton told Jay Leno and Larry King she got an angel tattoos and fewer tattoos than expected. "I splattered them here and there, but I wouldn't be a biker chick or anything," she added. Parton reveals her wrists on stage and red carpet. The singer stated she covered her wounds with tattoos but never mentioned long sleeves. Parton told Vanity Fair, "I don't really like to make a big to-do of the tattoos because people make such a big damn deal over every little thing. Most of the tattoos when I first started were covering up scars that I had, because I had a tendency to have keloid scar tissue, and any scars I have a purple tinge that I can never get rid of. Long sleeves may conceal Parton's keloid scars and tattoos." Mr. Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton discovered love in the big city on her first day in Nashville. Carl Dean, in a white truck, traveled by, observed her on her way to the wishy-washy laundry. "My first thought was, I'm going to marry that girl," Dean said. "My second thought was, Lord, she's hot. That was the start of my life. I wouldn't trade the last 50 years for anything." Their unexpected encounter resulted in a marriage that lasted over 50 years. Their marriage took place 2 years after they met, in 1966, when Parton was just 20 and Dean was 23. While the young lovers were ecstatic, the record label was not. They believed Dolly's marriage would interfere with her music and advised her to think things over before getting married. Dolly exclaimed, "I ain't waiting," and the two eloped, living happily ever after. Taking off. Porter Wagoner, dubbed Mr. Grand Ole Opry, was one of the most successful country music performers of his day, with his television program attracting over 3 million people each night. Wagoner gave Parton a seat on his program in 1967, where she would be presented to the rest of the world. Parton won over crowds as a replacement for Norma Jean, and she also joined Wagoner's company, RCA Victor. Her duets with Dolly Parton were tremendous hits, but her solo work didn't do so well. Wagoner had Parton record her own rendition of Jimmy Rogers' Mule Skinner Blues in 1970. Parton made her solo debut with this song, which reached number 3 on the country charts. Things only got better from there, with Joshua being Parton's first number 1 country single, and Jolene, which climbed to number 1 and launched a streak of number 1 songs, even seeing Parton chart high in the United Kingdom. Dolly had won several accolades, garnered gold medals, and ascended to prominence only 10 years after moving to Nashville. Away from the spotlight. Carl Dean is notorious for remaining out of the spotlight, and Dolly Parton's unnoticed husband doesn't want to share her celebrity. The pair attended an awards dinner in 1966. "This was my first big hit. It reached number 1 for Bill and was named BMI Song of the Year. So Carl and I dressed up. He was dressed in a tux and we drove to the dinner," Parton recounts. "We exited and walked up the red carpet before sitting through dinner and the awards. Carl went to me after dinner and said, 'Dolly, I want you to have whatever you want, and I'm glad for you, but don't ask me to go to another one of those darn things again.'" Carl Dean's first industry event was also his last. Parton desires the natural privacy that normal partnerships enjoy, and she's spoken out on the matter, stating, "I've known how to keep my husband private. Comes naturally to me to safeguard the things and people I care about, as well as my own privacy. God and I each have a piece of the puzzle. It's a precious space that is just mine and God's, and I've known how to do it because I believe God has guided me to do so. I hope that God would also give me enough to spare when it comes to my money, but also to myself. Allow me to share everything I can, but allow me to keep myself."